Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at some Daredevil books because this is my top 5 favorite Daredevil omnibuses. So without further ado, let's take a look at these books. Okay, and just so you know what I'm working with, here are all the Daredevil books that I actually own. I've got some on one shelf and then just a couple on another shelf here. So starting off this list at the number 5 slot is the Daredevil by Mark Waid Omnibus. So this run on Daredevil comes after a lot of very tonally dark but still really fantastic Daredevil runs, and what I appreciate about this is that it's a more lighthearted version of Daredevil. It's still got Daredevil in his down on his luck moments, and it's poignant when it needs to be, but the overall tone is a little lighter, and that's a cool take on the character after so much of the same style of Daredevil stories. It's kind of a cool message that in this run, Matt Murdock is sort of trying to get a better grasp of his mental health and to live a life more fueled by positivity. There are certainly some roadblocks for him there, but I definitely enjoyed exploring this kind of life approach through a character like Daredevil, and it's also an environment change for Daredevil in this story because he is in San Francisco at this time, so we get a little West Coast hero and villain action catching up with him there too. He's also running into a lot of legal battles here for his vigilante work since basically at this point everybody knows that he is Daredevil, and that also ties into the reason that he had to depart from New York for a bit. It's a good run, it's something a little bit different, and especially if you're somebody who's read a lot of other Daredevil stories, I recommend trying this one out as well. And the number 4 slot on this list is going to go to the Daredevil by Soule Omnibus. This is a run I have a whole video on if you want to check that out, but my brief thoughts are that this is another addition in some legendary Daredevil runs, and fun fact, Soule actually used to be a lawyer, so there's a lot of legal talk in here that, as far as the layman would be able to tell, is accurate and logically based in reality. This takes place right after Mark Waid's run, by the way, and here Matt Murdock is back in New York, and it's a kind of back to basics style run because the Daredevil identity is once again made a mystery to the world by something that happens in here that I won't spoil for you. And when I say back to basic, by the way, I don't mean that in any bad way, because basic for Daredevil is phenomenal because so many great writers have explored with this character, but also Soule adds a lot of new interesting layers too. And to me, this one felt similar to the Netflix series in certain ways, so if you like any of the political thriller nature, the gritty crime stuff, the challenges of morality exploration, then you're probably going to enjoy this run too. I also really liked his Chinese immigrant new apprentice, Blind Spot. He's got his own invisibility suit and is just a character that gets a lot of depth in this run and is sort of really intrinsically tied to the narrative of it. There's also a serial killer artist character in here named Muse, who I think just looks super amazing, and his plot is also one that I think really draws you in. Little artist pun there for you folks. Anyway, lots of cool moments in here, and also a lot of classic Daredevil characters, and I think this is also definitely worth reading. And up next, taking the number 3 spot, is Ed Brubaker's Daredevil Omnibus. Now, this is a great example of one of those iconic Daredevil crime thriller stories that are gritty, a bit depressing, and extremely harrowing for the character. What I found exciting about this run most of all was Matt Murdock is straight up in jail during this time. And obviously, that presents some challenges for his personal life and his private life of being a vigilante. Straight up, we get some of the best Daredevil moments in here. It is action-packed, it keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it's a run you definitely shouldn't miss. A lot of this run has to do with the consequences of some things that happened in the previous run, which was written by Brian Michael Bendis. There are some really touching and sad moments in here when it comes to Daredevil and his girlfriend. And there's also a lot of brutality, but it is what I prefer, which is purposeful brutality. It's not just gore and guts and punching and blood for the sake of all that. It's part of the narrative and it's part of the story, and I always really appreciate that. Going from Bendis' run to this one, there's so much momentum, there's so much great writing steam built up. This leads into Shadowland, which was kind of a letdown, and it's a bit unfortunate that, they couldn't keep the ball rolling. But regardless, this itself is still really, really worth the read. It is one of the greatest Daredevil stories of all time. Alright guys, so coming in at number 2 is the Daredevil by Brian Michael Bendis Omnibus. Brian Michael Bendis is already one of my favorite comic book writers, and I think he captured the character of Daredevil exceptionally well. I also might be a bit biased because this is the first Daredevil run that I read, and it's the run that really got me hooked onto the character. Not to mention, story aside, one of the reasons that I really enjoy this run is the artwork, especially the artwork in the first arc of this book. It is this awesome watercolor design, and I've said it before on this channel, but comics are an interdisciplinary thing, so the story is all of it intertwined. It's the writing, it's the artwork, it's the lettering, it's the layout, all of that. And the artwork here does a really good job of lifting up Bendis' script even more, and it's already a really good script. So this follows Joe Quesada's run, which is in a Marvel Knights Omnibus that I just don't have, by the way, but this is kind of Bendis' relaunch with classic characters and new characters. Some of the best legal stuff happens in here too, and I am a sucker for Daredevil courtroom scenes, and this certainly delivers on that. I kind of want to say also that it's not as action-packed as some other Daredevil runs, but that's in no way a bad thing. Bendis just kind of takes his time to put all the pieces on the board and make his moves. I like the way it's paced, but I could certainly see someone wanting something quicker, but it all pays off with patience here, trust me. This is an awesome starting point, and I think it's probably one of the better Marvel Omnibuses that are out there even, like definitely top 20, so definitely pick this story up in any format that you can get your hands on it. And coming in at the #1 slot is the Daredevil by Frank Miller Omnibus. You probably saw this coming, although I am cheating a little bit because I don't actually have that main omnibus. What I have here is a companion omnibus, but I'm sort of just going to count it as part of the totality of the run. Although I gotta say, just omnibus-wise, the binding on this is really bad, so, apologies if you see me wrestling with the book as I'm trying to showcase it. Also, real quick, just a kind of funny story, I got this omnibus super cheap because some dude's wife was just selling off his entire collection, and I don't know if she had his consent to sell the collection, because she was basically just giving stuff away. I mean, I think I got this for 30 bucks, and I got 2 other books she threw in there for free. But I guess one man's potentially pissed off wife is another man's gain, so, apologies if this is your book, but I enjoy it quite a lot, so maybe you can appreciate that at least. But Frank Miller is what kind of made Daredevil. He was just this kind of C-list character, and Frank Miller elevated him, made him this gritty character, gave him real-world problems, sort of got everything going for the guy. I think we just owe a lot to this run for uplifting our boy Daredevil and pushing him in the direction that we all know and love today. That noir, that gritty tone is one that just oozes from these pages, and there is amazing Kingpin stuff going on here too, where basically the Kingpin finds out who Daredevil is and just does every single thing in his power he can do to destroy every aspect of Matt Murdock's life, and the pace of the storytelling there is just really heartbreaking and satisfying, and it's so good. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, really please consider subscribing because I'm so close to 500, and I'm so happy with the little community we've cultivated here, and I'd love for you to be a part of that. Alright everybody, thank you, and have a great rest of your day.